Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Jeremy from 5 Star Guitars. Normally, about this time, I would be introducing a good friend, Ben Rice, who would be sitting right about here, and you'll notice he's not here. We shot a whole video this morning. You'll see a little bit of it later, and then found out as we were uploading the footage that one of our memory cards died it deleted footage, so hopefully a slow and painful death. Because we lost a lot of footage from this morning, including the whole kind of introduction where we talked about PRS guitars, and we were comparing SE models, SE S2 core model guitars, and kind of A-Bing some of them in some of the playing examples and discussion that we'll see later on in the video. But a lot of the discussion that we had and a lot of the conversation died with that memory card. So I'm going to try and repeat the conversation we had this morning. Was perfect. It was impeccable. Could not be repeated, but I'm going to try anyways. We started with this guitar here, which is an SE Custom 24, and a lot of what we talked about was the way that SE guitars are made, and when you're talking import guitars, not every guitar is made like this, where the USA manufacturer goes, overseas to the plant, in this case Indonesia, on the campus of the Court Guitar Factory, where a lot of brands are made there. And usually the way that it works for most manufacturers is they have a contract with said overseas factory to make 10,000 of a given model. And they kind of place an order with a certain spec range, and the same factory makes the same guitars for everybody, right? That's not the case for PRS SE stuff. The SE factory is its own building where the employees that go there and build guitars, they only build PRS SE guitars, and that's the only thing that gets built in that factory building. So, and not only that, PRS set up that factory overseas to mirror the factory and the build procedure and the process from the Maryland factory. So it's about as close as you can get to having a Maryland-made PRS guitar built overseas to their specs, and and deliver that PRS experience in a much more affordable piece. So rather than spending $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on a piece from Maryland, you can get an SE guitar for less than $1,000. So a few of the key differences, while there are a lot of similarities in spec and design and configuration and everything, a few of the key differences are, and definitely cost-saving measures would be the vernier top. That's probably one of the bigger ones. Where a core model guitar, they take a nice thick piece of beautiful flame maple and carve out the contours for the top on that, so your maple cap is entirely that flame piece or quilt or whatever you end up with. In an SE guitar, it's maple. It's still maple, so it's the same tone wood, but they take a piece that doesn't have to look as nice, and they don't have to book match the flame perfectly, and they take a really, 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 really thin slice of that book matched flame maple, and it gets glued to the top there. So you can see it's still a maple cap, and they still, spray it. They'll tape it off and spray it, and you end up with aesthetically the same and or similar look, and definitely sonically having a vernier or not isn't going to change the sound of it. It's still a maple cap on your guitar. So it's just a way for them to get dozens of pretty looking guitars like this out the door, and use the same piece of wood that might only make one guitar in Maryland. Couple other things, the pickups are, again, it's like an overseas made to spec. Like PRS designs a pickup and sends the specs over to a place that makes pickups in bulk, and those pickups are the ones that are in here. So they're PRS designed, but they're not made in Maryland. A lot of the core guitars made in USA, made in Maryland core guitars have like a little dish, like a little recessed kind of bowl for the knobs to sit in, and it looks really nice. It's really pretty. It doesn't affect the tone at all, but it makes for a nice playing experience because the knobs rather than just like sitting on the guitar, they almost become part of the guitar and part of the playing experience. So just kind of a nice touch. And you won't see that, no matter the manufacturer, you probably will never see that on a veneered top, because it's really hard, maybe impossible to veneer that little dish. But it definitely, there are some guitars where they will do that and then they'll just cut into the veneer, and it looks kind of funny. So on PRS guitars, they just, on the SE stuff, the knobs sit on top like they do on CE24s and stuff. So a couple of those differences, but some really significant similarities. The neck shape, they send very, very, very tight spec. The necks need to measure like this and feel like this. And for all of the places that have built overseas PRS guitars, they're most happy with this recent iteration from their new factory on the Court campus. They, over and above when they were made in Korea and any other place that they've had these made, this is the design, the spec, the measurement that PRS has sent everybody. And this time they've gotten closer than ever to getting consistently produced SE guitars made to spec, right? Maybe the most impressive to me, I don't know if this will impress you at all, but in overseas guitars that have glued-in frets. So in part of a video where Jack Hickenbotham of PRS gives you a tour of the PRS factory over there, that new Indonesian Court factory, we'll put a link to that video in the description. But a really great tour, step-by-step process of how an SE guitar is made. And at one point you'll see them glue in the frets. That almost never happens in a guitar that is definitely not one made overseas. Almost never there. Clearly it happens, but very rarely does it even happen in USA-made guitars. So to have a guitar that sells for less than $1,000 have the frets glued in, and then the way that they're rounded and shaped and level and crowned, and the way that the nut is installed and everything, it's top shelf stuff, but given to you in a guitar that's less than $1,000. So just overall, just an incredible value. And in what is left, in what remains of our footage from this morning, Ben plays this one actually quite extensively. I think he liked it. And so we will check that out here in a second. Rumor has it the other footage we lost was him playing the guitar that I think was his favorite on the day, which was this. There it is. Blue Mateo. CE24. I have a CE24 myself, and I love it. I think maybe Ben and I are both, we gravitate towards CE24s because we're bolt-on guys. He plays a T style, and I usually play an S style, and so the satin neck on it and the bolt, even though you don't, unlike some T and F style guitars, the heel joint is part of the playing experience because you've got this giant kind of cube that you run your hand into. The playing experience on a PRS, even though it's a bolt-on, it's so far down here as part of the body that the heel here, it's the same heel, and reach and experience that you would have on a glued-in set neck. So Ben really liked this one. I don't know what about it, just if it's the weight, the sound, whatever. But he really liked playing on this one, and this is technically, PRS doesn't consider bolt-ons as part of their core line. It's entirely made in Maryland, just like S2s, but the bolt-on series like the Silver Sky, Fiore, and CE24 they're 100% made in Maryland and everything, but they don't consider them part of the core line. So later on we'll see core guitars with covered pickups, and again, this one doesn't have the the recessed bevel for the knobs, but being a Maryland-made guitar, this is a solid piece for maple cap. There's no veneer on this one. Just all-around cool guitar. I covet some of the higher-priced PRS guitars, but my CE24 is probably my favorite guitar I own. It's an incredible guitar, and mine is really old, and it still is. This is comfortable. This feels like home. They're still making them in a great way. So fun to see the locking tuners on these and the trem. Really comfortable trem. Hopefully not all of our footage of Ben playing this disappeared, because he had a really good time playing. Being a T guy, he doesn't play with the trem very often, but he was really enjoying himself on this. So let's get to the rest of the video and hear some great guitar playing from Ben Rice. So a lot of sounds in this one.
You can tell I don't. Yeah, very comfortable.
So this one's the core model. This one's a bit of a custom 24. So the color is a custom color, and the electronics in this one, it's got the piezos. That's not like, there's nothing special about that. It's just an option for a custom 24. You can get one with or without piezo. But this color, check out the back of the neck on that. Did you see it?
Oh yeah.
Look at that thing. That's cool,
That's super cool. Yeah, kind of like a, I'd say sunburst, but or tobacco burst, but it's a tobacco wrap.
Yeah, there you go, yeah.
It's like tobacco
He's learning. Yeah, so finish-wise, because you don't see the nice binding, like the natural wood binding on there. This color here is called a wrap, Boyd wrap. But other than that, we got some custom color and a nice top on this thing, and it's got the piezo bridge, but Boyd burst is what they call this.
Boyd burst.
It's like almost natural to black with nothing in between. It's almost, but there's a little bit. It's almost like it's like an antique natural kind of thing. So it's very much just a natural maple top color.
Yeah.
That then transitions out to the black, kind of charcoal black wrap on it. So it's really interesting. It's there's a few people that have looked at it like, man, it's not my jam, but somebody's gonna love it. And other people will look at that and like, yeah, that's finally cool. Somebody made my color. And that's,
yeah, right.
That's what happens with these. Yeah, exactly. So same kind of deal, 8515 pickups in this, lots of sounds happening. It's got the blade toggle, pickup switch, and then a toggle down there to split stuff and do magic. And then you can see in this one, finally, now that we're at the core level, you can see they dished in some of the knobs. They're recessed a little bit into the body, and it's just kind of a nice classy touch that makes it comfy to play. Yeah.
So those little details that really make guitars really, really nice, and that's one of them where it's like...
Yeah, it's a playing experience detail. It's not exactly like this guitar. It's not going to sound different because they beveled knobs into the body, right? But it's a playing experience where the knob sits. It's not so tall, so it's just in kind of a comfortable place for you to grab. So it becomes more a part of the guitar than sitting on top of it. So
yeah.
So you aren't going to have time today. You'll be here all day if you try and go through all the sounds this can make. But it's got finally also with the Maryland made pickups here and set neck. So it like we said before with the CE, it doesn't change the playing experience all that much because the back plate's so far down. But you've got a glossy back, a really nice, highly polished neck, along with the beautiful nitro top.
Totally. This neck actually reminded me of the SE model, where it's like, oh, it's like a glossy neck feel versus the satin. I thought that was like, oh yeah, like they're of similar origin or similar like species, like it's like, oh, this is not like a completely different instrument. This is like the same design, same thought out,
and most of the ones you can see nice details in the inlays there, and then the finish on this one, which you won't find in SE models, is a very thin. It's like nitro over poly, so it's supposed to be. PRS does this kind of interesting thing with their finishes, and they're on kind of a next generation for this. Always going for the thinnest, most resonant finish that they can come up with that will not check over time. So how thin can we make this and keep it resonant, but still protect the color? So
the lines, on this guitar is just gorgeous. It's like looking at a sports car.
All right, I've got another one for you to try.
All right, all
We've
right.
got some unique stuff here as well. So this one's a Santana, but not just any Santana. Okay, so here's a couple of Santana guitars, bookending the spectrum here. This is a limited edition that just came in celebration of the Abraxas album. There's a limited number of these. These are from the SE line, so an SE Santana. Neck's a little bigger on that one.
Yeah, it's chunkier. It's really cool. Yeah, it's interesting. And it changes shape up the neck too. I wasn't expecting that.
So that's what Ben will play first, and then I've got, this is a core model Santana, but what used to be called Artist Package. I believe this was one that was spec'd out back when Artist Package existed. Pandemic kind of shut that down for them so they could keep up with production, but it used to be like an upgraded one. You could order a core model Santana and then upgrade the nicest top that you could find in an ebony board and stuff. And so this is core model Santana with some bells and whistles, and then the celebratory SE model. So give us some tones and then we'll swap guitars here. I love the black on this. This is one of the nicest, like cleanest, deepest blacks that I've seen in a guitar color. It's really well done. It's hard to do this evenly and get a good hue on it, but this is really nice. So then there's that top, which is just unmistakable. It's gorgeous.
It's like a neon honey burst kind of.
There's an interesting thing too with the color happening between SE and core models, which is when Maryland, the folks at the factory sit down and come up with the color that they want to use, they will stain a piece of wood and then cut it in half and send one piece to Indonesia and one piece stays in Maryland, and that's what they color match to. So it's a way to keep the Santana yellow consistent among models. But yeah, again, chunky neck. This is the baseball bat it's a really nice shape, so it's comfortable, but it's one of the bigger necks you will play.
Yeah, it's not like getting in the way though, you know, like it's big, but you know, like it's comfortable. It's comfortable up the neck. It's big up by the 12th fret too, which is like, oh, that's different. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Gives you some confidence to dig in.
It does, and the notes are there. You know?
Yeah.
12th fret, you got to do it. You got to do it, right? Yeah.
With a trem.
Right, with the trem.
That's
totally.
The theme today
Totally.
is to get you on trems today.
Right. You know. I might need one after today.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really, it's a really sweet playing guitar. Yeah, that's really sweet.
Just the clarity is there. It's really neat. The hybrid hardware that PRS uses on these is really neat, where it's a combination of the gold and nickel. I'm not a fan of gold, but they use it so well at PRS that it's
tasteful.
it's really tastefully done.
Yeah, like even the tuners, it's like the tuners are.
Yeah, gold buttons and the gear, but. All right, so next set of guitars here is the 594. This is a different scale length. The Santana will be, I think it's 24.5. It's basically a Gibson scale length. You've got the 25s on the usual PRS designs, but the 594 is so named because of the scale length. It is 24.594 inches long, and so it was just kind of the magic number. You've got the two-piece bridge that we all know and love.
Stop tail. All the guitars today have kind of had like brass saddles or.
Paul likes the sound of the raw brass, so
Yeah.
I kind of doubt that he still does this, but I heard that what they used to do is they get the pieces and they would sit there and like file off to get down to the brass on there, because Paul was that meticulous, and he's like, I know it's a waste of time, but I can tell a difference in the sound. That's what I want. So they raw brass. It was a sonic choice for them, and so we've got S2. So this is made in Maryland. The guitar is, but as we talk about like cost saving measures, you'll notice that the bevel is on the guitar body is sort of SG like in its cut. Like it's got the angle. It's not not quite so smoothly beveled. It basically is just like, hey, we're gonna give you an American made guitar with everything that you need and nothing you don't, right? And so they saved some production time and money where they could. You won't get the fancy, carved top stuff with highly flamed and all that, although they are very pretty. But you will get everything that you need. If you need a mahogany body with a maple cap and the right kind of hardware and all that, that's what you get.
That's the recipe. That's one of the recipes.
You don't get the fancy binding stuff and all that on it, and the inlays are most of them, if not all, are clay instead of like abalone and stuff. But an American-made guitar at a decent price. So 594 S2 model, and then we'll hand you, this is a regular production core model 594.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right, so the core model here, this is the nitro finish. That fancy nitro finish. The neck pattern here is pattern vintage. It is the deepest neck carve that they do, maybe outside of the Santana. That thing is a beast, but among the pattern thin, pattern regular, pattern vintage is the deepest neck cut that they do. And the idea of this guitar, this is their thing on these, is that vintage guitar feel. This should sound, be a playing experience from 70 years ago, but in a guitar they just made this year, right? So.
The top end, the top end is really, it's not brittle, it's nice and smooth, and it's singing. I keep on forgetting what position I'm in because it just sounds good across
It's good
the
everywhere,
board.
yeah.
I'm like,
They pull a tone pot. Yeah,
oh,
they coil tap too. Yeah.
One of those.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the session, you go on a session and you can cover most of your territory with this one piece. So if you've got that bridge in humbucker mode, you've got that kind of vintage Les Paul PAF tone that you're going for. Dig into the thing and then let the note bloom, and it rewards you for pushing it.
Yeah. Very cool.
So, we played a range of PRS guitars, some SE, some core. Be honest, can you tell the difference between SE and core model guitars in playing on them? Can you tell the difference in neck and like construction quality between being made in Maryland and made overseas?
That's interesting. I wouldn't, there's definitely a couple SE models that I picked up that were like, I wouldn't have thought about it being made overseas for sure. And I think neck and neck, it's like when you put them next to each other, it's like there's a couple things that you can like tell, like some of the edges, but what kind of blew my mind was that there was things that were, elements of the SE models that I found in
The core models?
the core models that I didn't think were going to translate.
Yeah.
The poly finish, the glossy finish on the SE model.
Yeah, it's a really good finish for not being nitro, right? It's
Totally.
really well done.
And
That's the thing that I think I feel with pick up an SE guitar and it's like, man, this is really good, and you can clearly see why this is a value.
yeah,
And then you pick up a core model and it's like, and I can tell that this was made
yeah,
by the experts in Maryland, right?
totally.
So sonically though, like there's some differences, but they do a really good job.
Yeah.
On the SE ones.
And there was nothing about the SE models that were like, oh, I couldn't do this or I couldn't do that. Especially going from what, in my mind, this is more of like that, like you said, like kind of like a Les Paul, a stop tail, and then on the 24s, it's like, oh, well, that's more of like a S style, with the tremolo.
Yeah.
Where to me, like in the SE models, it was like, Oh, like you're getting a little bit of both too, which is cool.
Yeah, yeah, you get a little bit of everything. You get a really, really nice PRS experience that isn't thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. But
Totally.
when you pick up the core model, a 594, like it just does things that you don't feel the corners being cut at all playing an SE guitar, but you then pick up a core model and it's like, yeah, this, I can see.
I can feel.
Maybe no corners were cut, but
Yeah.
here maybe a few extra were taken.
Right,
Right?
totally. Like I can feel the hours of whittling away at brass.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep. Did you have a favorite today?
Oh man, I think the one that's gonna stick out to me the most memorable is going to be the one with the satin neck.
Oh, really? The
yeah,
CE?
The CE. Yeah, I thought
All right.
that was.
The bolt-on.
I'm gonna be thinking about that for a little bit.
All right. You're like a Telly guy though, right?
I'm a Telly guy.
All right.
Yeah, so. To me, that was like, oh, I know this, you
Yeah.
know? And then you start playing, like, wait a minute. There's a little bit more sustain. There's a little bit more, like, to me, the top end, it's like chimey, but it's not brittle, and it's not ice pick. So, and then the way the tremolo felt, I'm like, well, I don't normally play on one of those, but it was just like, oh, like this is just extra lyrical, extra expression.
They have a really nice bounce to them. It's really, yeah, it's really comfortable.
And it's not taking the guitar out of tune. Like,
That's also important.
that just kills me. I'm like, I got this cool lick. I'm gonna hit the treble.
Even on a 6-point, like a lot of people find their intonation is better on a 2-point trem. But even with 6, it's like it can bounce correctly. You can do things that are it's safe.
Yeah,
It's safe
right. You're okay. You're
safe
gonna be
to play on
fine.
it. Yep.
You know.
All right. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
We jammed out on a Santana, but just to reiterate, check the description for this video for links to some of those tours of the PRS factory. My name is Jeremy. This is Ben. My son would be remiss if he'd be mad if I didn't tell you to smash that like and subscribe. So smash that like and subscribe. I'm way too old to say that. Thanks for stopping by though, and let's do this again soon.
Definitely.
Thanks for joining us.